Okay, so here's your guys' homework on even more practice on inverse functions. Okay, so let's go over like probably the first couple of these and maybe like two from here, and then have you guys try the rest on your own. Okay, so for all of these, state if the given functions are inverses of each other, you guys. So what you're really doing is you're testing to see if f is an inverse function of g and is g an inverse function of f of x and vice versa. So you can choose to do either way you want. So let's just see if f is an inverse function of g. So for this one, let's set it equals to y, right? Switch your guys' variables and then solve for your y. Add 3 to both sides. Because that's a negative in the front, we're going to divide both sides by -1 to get negative x minus 3 equals y to the fifth. Now, this is kind of new for you guys. In order to get rid of that fifth power, for something to the second power, you know to just square root it, right? But when it's a fifth power, you do a root, but you do a fifth root to both sides. And it makes sense because if something's to the fifth power, you guys, the inverse of that is raising both sides to the fifth root. So our inverse function, you guys, is going to be the fifth root of negative x minus 3. Now, look at the inverse, you guys. Is the inverse you found this? And it is. So that means, are these inverse functions of each other? Yes, they are. So that's number 1. Number 5. Now, just to prove to you guys that these are inverse functions of each other, I'm going to go this way. And it doesn't matter which one you start with, as long as one is the inverse of the other, they are both inverses of each other. So y is going to equals to x minus 5 over 10. We're starting with this one, you guys. We're seeing if this one truly is the inverse. Switch the variables. Now to get rid of that denominator of 10, multiply both sides by 10. So 10x equals y minus 5. And then to isolate and solve for y, add 5 to both sides. So we know the inverse is 10x plus 5. Is that what g is? It is not. That g says negative 10x plus 5. So are these inverses of each other? That is a flat out no. Okay. Now let's try number 8 now. So for number 8, we're going to see if these are inverse of each other. So let's start with this one. So y is equal to the fifth root of x plus 1 over 2. Since switch the variables first, and then we're going to solve for our new y. Well, because this is the fifth root, you guys, in order to get rid of the fifth root, we have to raise both sides to the fifth power. So x to the fifth equals y plus 1 over 2. To get rid of that denominator of 2, multiply both sides by 2, and then subtract both sides by 1. So our inverse function you have, you guys, is 2x to the fifth minus 1. It's that, and it is. So these are definitely inverses of each other. Okay, so that's how you kind of do a couple of those. Now let's look at a couple of these. Okay, let's look at 11. So we just gotta find the inverse function. Set it equals to y. Switch the variables. And now solve for y. Subtract both sides by 3. Now to get rid of that fifth degree, right? To get rid of that fifth degree, you guys, take the fifth root to both sides. So the fifth root of x minus 3 is equals to y minus 2. And then to solve for y, add 2 to both sides. So we have the fifth root of x minus 3 plus 2. And that is your guys' inverse function. Okay. There's a couple of these we could do as well. Let's try like number 12. So for number 12, set it equals to y, right? Switch the variables, and now solve for your new y. Subtract 2 to both sides first. because this is a cube root, you guys, in order to get rid of that cube root, you gotta raise both sides to the third power. X minus 2 to the third equals y plus 1, and then lastly, subtract both sides by 1. So y is equals to x minus 2 to the third minus 1, and that is your guys' inverse function. I think you guys have a handle of that type of stuff. Let's try 32 and 34. Okay, so for 32, set A equals to y. You switch the variables and now solve for y. Let's subtract 3 to both sides to get x minus 3 equals negative 2y to the fifth. We gotta divide both sides by negative 2. So let me make sure this is all looking good. Okay, divide both sides by negative 2. We got negative 1/2 x plus 3 over 2, you guys, equals y to the fifth. Now to get rid of that fifth power, right, you have to take the fifth root to both sides. So your inverse for this one, you guys, is the fifth root of all of that stuff. And that's your answer for that one. Answers are on the bottom for you guys to check your work. Okay, that's basically the same thing. All right, 34. Set this equals to y, right? Switch the variables, you guys. And then solve for your guys' new y. Subtract 2 to both sides. X minus 2 equals y minus 1 to the third. To get rid of that third degree, cube root both sides. So the cube root of x minus 2 equals y minus 1, and then add 1 to both sides. And that is going to be your guys' inverse function. Okay, so again, keep on practicing, and the answers are on the bottom. So these are all your guys' homework assignment, or all the problems for this homework assignment. Okay, good luck, you guys. Peace.